Hello.
In the beginning, I'm mobile, so at the end, I will be at home, so I'm a little bit late.
All right, no problem. So this time it also seems that I think I remembered to activate the recording. So
Good idea.
yeah, so it's recording. Is it really? Can you see the recording icon
Yeah.
with the red dot?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Actually, I checked it earlier, the Tuesday and Wednesday. Wonder why.
All right. So
I
today
mute myself.
I wanted to talk about using static website generator, but before we begin, I would like you to introduce to Bonnie, who is a joining researcher who would like to look at the course that we are running here and ask a few questions to the participants. So maybe I'm going to unshare the screen and let Bonnie introduce herself.
Yeah. Hey, Chris. Hey, guys. Nice to meet you. My name is Bonnie. I'm research assistant at the University in Potsdam in Germany. And I would like to accompany your course from a research perspective. And if COVID-19 allows, I might also get to know you in person in April and May. Yeah, so far we have planned a research stay, but let's see if it works. And yeah, what's my background, why I'm interested in this course? My research field and interest is in participatory technology development. And I see in the context of maker education, maker spaces, hacker spaces, a big potential. So would like to figure out what kind of learning journey you're going through. So what is special about what kind of challenges you have to face, and yeah, that's why I would like to accompany this course and capture your learning experiences. And how we would like to do this, we would like to ask you to fill out a learning diary. It's like writing down, today I have learned this and this kind of challenge I have to solve, something like this. So speaking really freely. And yeah, this learning diary consists of 3 parts. So the first part we will give to you now at the beginning. Second part, probably when I will be in Helsinki with you, and then we can also talk about this, hopefully in person. And the last part will be at the end of this course. And yeah, you're not the only example I'm looking at. There are 2 other examples, one in Rotterdam, in the Stats Lab. Maybe you have heard about this place. And the third example is in Germany, in the south of Germany. And then I would like to compare, because these courses I looking at are really different, some from the social science and from the technical science and the creative sector. So I would like to see if there are some commonalities. And yeah, the aim is to write down a clear concept of maker education, and also how to improve the critical thinking while you are developing technology. And yeah, this might be helpful not only for the higher education sector, but other fields. So yeah, that's my PhD project, and I would be happy if you would yeah, help me by this. And yeah, feel free to ask questions or contact me whenever you like. Yeah, and I hope you will enjoy this courses, Chris.
All right, thank you, Bonnie. So I posted also the link to the first part of the learning diary that Bonnie mentioned briefly in the chat. And I'm also going to add it to the email that I'm going to send you later today. So feel free to open it and fill it in. I mean, yes, it's the first part, and yeah, as Bonnie said already. So in the middle of the course, we're gonna get the second part, and then the third part at the end. So yeah, it would be just very nice that all of us would be able to fill this in, so we can get a really nice overview of what's going on, how it has been, and so on. All right. Otherwise, let's move on. Let's continue with the topic of today. This one is going to be a bit shorter than the previous ones, but yeah, let's start now. Otherwise, it can get a bit too long. Okay, using. Hello.
Could I? Because
Yeah.
I yesterday posted some question on the discussion place.
All right.
And I thought that maybe you haven't seen it yet. Maybe you can take a look after the class.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Thank you.
I need to activate like something that reminds me about the messages, so that it sends me also to the email, because I didn't get any notification about that. Let's see. But yeah, I'm gonna take a look at that later. Did you see the slide change? It's do you see the overview on your screens now?
No.
We don't see anything. We see you.
All right. Wait. Now?
Yeah, it works.
Yeah. All right, so it's on. Great. Yeah, I don't know, like Zoom on Unix, on Linux, and Ubuntu, it doesn't really perform so nice. I don't know. Sometimes it just crashes when I do screen sharing. When I try to stop the screen sharing, but okay. Hopefully, it's going to be fixed in the future. So, using static website generator in the context of Fab Academy. I'm going to talk about the theory, so compare static versus dynamic website generators really quickly, and then going to look at several other options, what are there, the most popular ones, and where to find more, and of course show a demonstration how to use Hugo. About theory, if we're talking about static web page, that's basically a file, like a HTML file that we create, and we put it on a web server that a browser on a computer that we are using can download and interpret. So basically, when we open the browser, we enter a website address, which is basically a server, and that server gives us back the file. That's fairly easy. So really simplified way how to look at these things. Then we have a dynamic web page in contrast, which is a bit more complex. So usually you would use a dynamic web page in a context where you need to the page to change according to the data that you supply to it. And you basically ask the server to mix the data that you are sending to it with the page that or the system that it has on its hard drive, and then the server does this dynamic operation. So the application that is running on the server, it is able to combine HTML templates with all kinds of different things, and then it compiles the HTML file, and then that is being sent back to your browser. It can also look a bit more complex like this. So you can add a database. So you can ask for a user ID instead of pass a username or data yourself. And then depending on that user ID, the Python application or PHP or Go, it can look up all the relevant user data by using this number, and then use all this data in order to produce an HTML page, and then send that HTML page back to your browser. And it can get messy. And we don't want that. Thus, we want to use, we'll use static website generators in this course, which gives us better security, and it gives a very good performance since the server doesn't have to do anything except send the HTML files to us. And usually it involves less dependencies. So you don't need any kind of extra libraries for Python or extra libraries for PHP, and you don't need databases, and you don't need to access multiple databases at the same time. Everything is embedded in the HTML page. So it's just all there. So these are the ones I know. So Jekyll, so we use Jekyll still on the existing Alto Fab Lab website. It's going to be replaced by Hugo soon. But Jekyll is based on Ruby, and it has a lot of dependencies. So in order to install it, you need to run several scripts, and then sometimes the scripts break because with every new version, the dependencies sometimes change, and sometimes you are running it on the latest system, and then the libraries hasn't been updated there yet. So there are all kinds of trouble. You can run into trouble with using this, but it's good. It's good. It has a lot of documentation, and usually that documentation helps you to get out of trouble. MKDocs, it's an engine that is kind of considered this default by Fab Academy. So in order to simplify the documentation website generation for the Fab Academy, if you're an official Fab Academy student, you are getting your Git repository set up with this. But it has good things, good sides, and it has also bad sides. So you're starting out with a huge bunch of files, and it doesn't help you to understand how things are built better. So this is why I'm putting a focus on teaching you how to understand HTML and how to use Hugo, how to use Git from scratch, so you actually get a better sense of what's happening under the hood, because the course itself, it's more about what's going on under the hood. It's about demystifying technology. And even though some people say that it should be about digital fabrication and web design is not a part of it, I wouldn't agree to that. I think that HTML is a big part of it because all of the things that we are using, including graphical user interfaces and apps on an everyday basis, they actually came from CNC machining. You'll be surprised, but first there was CAM, then there was digital, then there was computer-aided design, and from the first computer-aided design applications, fields like computer graphics and other user interface related fields emerged. So all of the things that we are using today, this is actually there thanks to digital fabrication in a way. And generally, if you start out with HTML and the internet technology, then you have a higher potential to understand what is going to happen, what is going on further in the course in terms of electronics and programming. But yeah, that's more like off topic. Sorry about that. So MKDocs is based on Python, and it also has dependencies, but it's a bit better. So it has caused me less trouble than, for example, when using Jekyll. But it's not bad. But the best, and what I'm going to talk about today is Hugo, which is built with a language called Golang, which is a language developed by Google in order to be able to build better backend services, APIs. So Golang is very similar to Python, maybe superficially, but it's similar to Python in terms of the new programming language concepts that are being used there. So it doesn't have too much syntax. It has less syntax than, for example, C, but it is as powerful, if not even more powerful, as C, because it compiles down to binary code, down to byte code. So not like Python or JavaScript that needs an interpreter in between in order to be able to run on hardware. And what Go language has more to offer is really advanced multi-threading and really easy to use multi-threading. Basically, you can define a process in a function, and you can run it really easily by using one line in your code. And there are all kinds of ways how you can make it easier, how you can easier access that thread while it is running, and how you can monitor whether it has finished running and so on. And I suppose that Google, I suppose that Google developed this language in order to take advantage of their server architecture, and also based on the fact that internet servers, so the servers which are running internet, they are mostly processing individual user requests. So you have heard probably that the website has been brought down because suddenly, from 100,000 users a day, 100,000 requests a day, the amount of requests jumped up to 1 million or more, and the server couldn't handle it anymore. So if you use technology programming language like Golang, which with an application that takes advantage of multi-threading, then to solve that situation, one way how to solve that situation is to just attach a computer to the network, which has a processor with more cores. And if you do some research on the internet, you will also see that, for example, Amazon just recently started to develop their own chips, which are which have multiple cores, like 64 or even more. And each of these cores are not so fast themselves, but you can see that they developed this in order to take advantage of this multi-threading possibilities or capabilities, because that's what is important when you're running a lot of web servers. So, and what else is good about Go is that it compiles really fast. And what else is good about Go is that it has also a toolchain. Like with the language, there's also a toolchain which allows you to format the code easier. So usually when you're working on a collaborative project, then each project has a kind of a good code guidelines style, like code style guidelines for each of the programming languages that they are using. So that the code base looks consistent. In the case of Go, it's not necessary because the code guidelines are sort of built in. You just need to run the built-in tool in order to format your source file, and it's just gonna look nice. And what is nice with Go, again, one more thing, is that whatever program you write, with whatever libraries, when you compile your code to an executable, this executable contains all the libraries and all the dependencies in it, which means that you don't have to install dependencies and packages on top of packages, but you just download usually one executable, you run it, and it works. And Hugo takes advantage of that, and this is primary reason why I like it, because it doesn't have any dependencies. You just download the Hugo application and you run it, and it works. And if you want to find more generators, static website generators, then this is a useful resource. I think it has over 50 different website generators there on the website. So Hugo, no dependencies. Let's switch over to demo mode. How can I move this around? Yes. So I'm going to open up the Hugo website. Let me pin this to bottom. Yes. Okay, so this is Hugo website. They claim that it's the world's fastest framework. It could be true, because I haven't really experienced anything faster so far. And in order to download it, you should go to GitHub, to its GitHub repository, and look for the latest release. So you see it's under active development, and the latest release was only 21 days ago. And when you scroll down, you'll see that there are all these assets, which basically means, so it's automatically being compiled for all these systems. So you can run it on FreeBSD, you can run it on an ARM system, such as Raspberry Pi, for example. On Windows, so for Windows, you should probably download the Windows 64-bit. For Mac OS, of course, Mac OS 64-bit. And I'm going to use the Linux version.
What does the mean of extended?
Sorry, I didn't want to do the extended. So the extended one contains all kinds of useful features. So for example, if you are using CSS preprocessors, so let's say something like SAS or less, and if you are using packagers or minifiers and things like those, then this is the Hugo extended is loaded with those. Yeah, well, I actually wanted to download just the plain version. We're just going to use that. So yeah, if you're more advanced in web design and you already know what I'm talking about, you know, as CSS and less and packaging and minifying and uglifying JavaScript code, then yeah, I would suggest you to experiment with the extended one. So it has really interesting features. But then for basic website, for basic documentation website that we are going to build for the Fab Academy, just go with a plain version. So I'm going to go with Linux. I don't need the ARM. I need the Linux 64-bit. And not this one, but the tar, which is basically like a zip file. So I'm just going to download and open it up. And yeah, you see the archive basically contains 3 files. So Hugo, which is the software. On Windows archive, you will have hugo.exe, so executable, and then license and README file. And basically, what do we need? We just need this one. So we're going to select it and extract it somewhere. I am going to extract it on desktop and just like that on desktop. And switch over to the terminal mode. Like so. So now I'm in my home directory and I'm gonna move to desktop. And when I list, so I have these folders. Wait a minute. I put it in the demo folder. Okay, so you see it's green because of this one. So what it is, this defines the permissions of a file. So usually in Unix systems, you have the permissions for the creator of the file, so the permissions for the group where the creator of the file lives, and then for anybody else. So, and then usually these permissions for each of these 3 categories, they are being described by using 3 letters. R means read writes, W means write writes, and then X means executable, executing, you know, running the program writes. And in order to run Hugo, we need it to make it executable by all. Like not necessarily all, actually, it would be just necessary for these 2, but by default, it's usually executable by all. And if in case it is not executable for you, then you usually need to use a command that is called change mod or change mode. So this is the Unix shortcut for it. And send this message. So add this as an argument. So A means all plus X, so that all groups should gain executable rights. And then add Hugo at the end as the file that you want to, for which you want to change the mode. So like this. Yeah, it's just going to leave it the same.
Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't really want to like consistently interrupt you, but I really have a critical question this time. So
Sure.
I open the Hugo, but in the Macs it only have the option that open the file, no extract actually.
What do you mean? So
so
you're on Mac.
yeah, I'm Mac and I downloaded Hugo. It's totally fine, but I want to execute it, and I saw what you do is like you extract it, but when I type the like right click on it, only have the option.
It could be that on Mac it's automatically extracted. So it might be that when you go to your downloads folder, you will see a directory name, Hugo.
Okay, so okay, because of the zip.
And in that directory you'll have the file, and it just you can move it wherever. But yeah, follow along. So there's going to be a bit more detail about that. So if it's unzipped already, then it's fine. You don't have to open it in Archive Manager or anything like that.
So I just need to like drag the Hugo, this execute file, into the file which I gitted, like I pushed yesterday.
Yeah. So for now, but I'm gonna copy it somewhere else still. But so yeah. Basically, we do not want to add it to our repository, but I just put it here as the first place where to put it, so we can actually check whether it works.
Okay.
And in order to run it on Linux systems or in any kind of a command line emulator, you need to use this syntax. So // in the name of the program, and we're gonna ask for its version. So if it prints out the version, that means that you downloaded the right version for your system, and it's basically ready to work. On Unix systems such as Linux and Mac OS, you should put it in a place where it is globally accessible, because now if, for example, I move to my home directory and I try to run Hugo, it's gonna find it. We need to make sure that we can run it like this. In my case, I can run it because I have the latest version installed somewhere in the system where the system can always find it, and you can find out where it is by using the command which. So you can ask whatever program where it actually is located by using this which command. So for example, ls is a program and it's located somewhere, so you can that's interesting. Yeah, but for move, for example, or remove, so you can see. So this is a location for system, so default system wide executables, and then the location that my existing Hugo installation has. This is usually for things that you install yourself. So starting from root, user /local /bin, and then Hugo. And what do we need to do? So I'm going to move to desktop and demo. And this is the website that we started to build yesterday, except that there's this Hugo executable. Now there, we need to move it by using move command. So sudo, so you might see this for the first time and be surprised what it is. So it basically stands for super user do. So if you're logged in your regular user account and you want to access administrator rights or super user rights, let me just show what happens if I do this without it. So if I try to move Hugo to user local bin, it's gonna tell me that cannot move because permission is denied. And in order to overcome this limitation, I need to use sudo. Also, given that your user has the sudo rights, you need to also know the password of your account. So this is gonna try to get administrator rights or super user rights and then run the move command by using those. So now it's asking for my password. I enter the password, hit enter, and now it's there. And now yeah, I think it's the latest version anyways. I think I recently updated it anyway. Yeah, and now you will see that it's not there anymore in our demo folder. And I'm just gonna check what was the last thing that we did. So we did add a GitLab CI file to the repository. Is there anything that we still need to commit? No? Okay, so that means that we are ready to go. Basically, what do we want to do? We want to separate the HTML syntax from the actual content. I'm now going to open Atom as the text editor. Here we go. And if you look here, so when I open the index file, so there's a lot of markup that is being repeated also in the about page. And we just want to focus on the things that change, on the content that changes. So for example, the title, we want to change the description of the page. And we would like to reuse the menu because it's basically the same. And then the content in the main, it also changes. So how to do that? This is where maybe I'm going to leave this open so you can see what's going on in here. So let me create a hidden directory where I'm going to store the existing files while I create a new Hugo project structure. So I'm going to make a directory that's called .temp. And it's going to be invisible by our file browser if we use one, but we'll be able to use it in the command line. So you see in here, like in Atom file manager, we can see it. So you can see that there's the directory appeared. But if you use plain ls, then you're not going to be able to see it. But if you use ls with a flag, like for a flag stands for all, it's going to show us also all the hidden directories. And I am going to move everything by using a wildcard character in that temp directory. Now, so everything except the hidden files. So when you see all of it, it's here in the temp directory now. And the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to run a command in order to make a new skeleton of a Hugo installation. So Hugo new site this. And it's going to throw me an error because there are some files already existing, but we can overcome that by using the force flag. And you see it created a list of directories and a few files. And basically we can get rid of some of them. So we don't need the archetypes directory. We don't need the data directory. And we don't need the themes directory. No, not username. So this already looks simple and manageable. And what we need to do is to edit the config first. So let's double click on config, and let's change this to something. So this should be changed to whatever your Git repository is. So usually you will have your username dot gitlab.io and then the project name, which is in our case is Fab Academy. And don't forget the trailing slash at the end. And here you can enter the name of the website. And then we are going to need to add a layout in the layouts folder. And we already have one. So we have this index.html layout. And instead of just moving it with the mouse here, I'm just going to move it by using the terminal. So from temp, index.html, I'm going to move it into layouts. And as you see, it's here. And at this point, we have enough configuration so that we can actually run the Hugo server, so the testing server. So in order to compile the Hugo website and see how it actually looks, you need to run a built-in Hugo server. So this is pretty much what you're going to need to do with almost any static website generator. So you can test it locally by using a built-in server. So you see it runs, and it shows you how many HTML pages it generated, what are the directories that it is watching for changes, and also the address that it created for you on the local host. That means on your computer, and this is the port number. So where you can see the actual changes. So when you click on this, this is opening you the index file. And now when you're gonna click on these, you see that the home, like the index.html still works, but there is no about page. So let's deal with that. Also, if you want to take a closer look at so what kind of files are being generated, then you can run just plain Hugo. And you see it created a directory that's called public. And in that public folder, you see all the files that are actually being generated. And it was really fast. So given that we had only one index HTML file that was put in the structure of Hugo, which was in the layout, creating all this, it's quite nice. And the further we configure it, the easier it's going to be to generate all these necessary files. So you see you have a sitemap here. But we're not going to necessarily make use of all these capabilities at first, but yeah, just so you get an idea. And let's delete it for now. So what we want to do is to edit the main layout. So to replace some of the things with some variables. So what we can do, just to avoid confusion, I'm gonna close this. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to replace the title of the page with the title of the website. And in Hugo, you can use these double curly braces in order to to notify Hugo that this is the part that has to be replaced. So this is the part where Hugo should use Hugo variables or the variable system. And usually, in order to access variables, you need to start with a dot and then with a specific variable scope that you want to access. And in this case, we want to access site variables. So this is why we type site and title. And in the same way, we can replace the header also with site title. And now, if we move it aside and we run Hugo server, and we go back to the website, and we refresh it. So we do not see any change because the Fab Academy was replaced by Fab Academy. But in order to see the change, we can go back to the text editor and open up the config and change the title to something else. And you see something happened on the left side. When we go back, you see that the browser actually automatically refreshed the website, and it replaced the title with the title that we just entered. Another thing that we could do quickly is to add description. So these are already built-in variables, and you don't need to kind of scope them in a way. But if you want to add your own, you need to add them under the section that is called parents. And we can copy this line over here. Yeah, was no need to copy because we replaced it anyways. But in the index, we can replace this. Yeah, and like this. Next thing that we want to do is to create a few files from the modules, so from the parts that we already got here. So one of the main things that we want to create as a module is this navigation. And for that, you have to put the files into a folder under the layouts folder, which is called partials. And in here, I'm going to create a new file. It's going to be called nav or navigation HTML. And I'm going to cut this into the navigation HTML and replace it with a Hugo language construct. And we need to pass two parameters. So we need to use the keyword partial. Then we need to add the name of the actual partial HTML file. We need to add a dot so that actually the scope, the variable scope of this is going to be, it's being passed into the template, into the partial. So from the partial, we can access actually the same variables that we access here. So meaning site variables and page variables. Yeah, you should read the Hugo documentation for a bit in-depth explanation what that means. But for now, just follow along. So and now, if I go here, it still has the menu. And if we change the navigation file, then you'll see that this partial also should change. Where do we have this? Ah, yeah, the Hugo server is not running. That's why nothing is changing. So like this, and then we refresh this. Yeah, and here we have a new link. But yeah, the problem is that the pages do not exist yet. As I told before, so we have the possibility to separate the HTML markup from content. And how does it work? So this is why there's the content directory. So you see layouts is clearly for layouts, very descriptive, and the content directory is for the content. And basically Hugo website generation, so the HTML page generation is based on what kind of structure we have in this content directory. And here, instead of HTML, we use Markdown files. So we can create all the sections that we need as Markdown files. And also, since we are going to have multiple assignments, we can create a subsection as a folder. I'm going to probably rename those later. Like so. And in each of these files, you will have a part that is called the front matter. And the front matter you can describe in between these separators. So these separators also tell Hugo that we are going to use TOML syntax. And below the front matter, you can start writing Markdown. And here you can use all the syntax that I showed in one of the days before. Like so. And now when we go back to the website and we click on the About, it should lead us to the page. But yeah, again, the server is not running. Let's run the server. Let's refresh. About. It's not found. Because yeah. Because there's one thing in Hugo, so that if you look in the layouts folder, then this index file, it's basically describing the the index page or the home page of it. And in order for the sections to be translated, so the sections in the content directory to be translated into a layout, we have to make one thing that looks seemingly complicated. We need to make a directory, it's called default. And in that default directory, we need to create a file which is called single HTML, which is going to be the layout for single pages. And what we can do, we can basically copy and paste this here and replace some things. So instead of using the site title, we want to use the page title here. And yeah, it's going to be automatically replaced. Let's try. This is the about page, and I can go back to home. Yeah, it doesn't go really back to home. Here, and I can click on home. I think we need to adjust the navigation in order to fix this. So if we open up the navigation layout, the partial here, we'll see that it all refers to HTML files. So wherever it is in the structure, so it's going to try to access the index HTML file at the same level. And in order to avoid this happening, we can replace this with a Hugo variable, which is going to basically point to the base URL of the site. And then here, instead of using the .html, we just need to make a construct, which is going to be site.base URL. Slash, no, not even slash. Like this. And this is still running, and we can go back to the browser. And now when we press on home or about page or final project page, final project, for some reason it doesn't work still. Why? Because probably I haven't populated it. So I can just, it's HTML. I need to rename it to MD. And enter some data into it. All right, I see that we have 5 minutes left. So final project, yeah, now it works. And the concept is that when you open this single HTML and also index HTML here in the layouts directory, is that you replace all the elements that are repeating, such as footer or header, with partials. So you can edit them in one place. So you don't have to edit them in all the sections, let's say 10 different sections of the web page, but you can just edit them there. Then we need to do something with these other files, such as README and electronics. So what we are going to do is quickly move them where they belong. So I'm going to move the electronics PNG from the temp folder to static folder. So all the files that are in static folder, they are going to be accessible by your generated HTML files from the same level where they are being published. So basically you could imagine as if the HTML files that were previously in the public folder, they are put in the static folder, and everything that is there is accessible to them for loading. So I'm going to move the electronics PNG to static, and I'm going to move the README file just here to the root. And there's still something in the temp, so that's the old about page, and we can just get rid of it together with the temp folder. So like this. And so we have now all these files. We don't need the resources folder over here, so we can already delete it. Or we can do it differently. So we can create a file. It's called Git Ignore. And we can add the name of the file or the folder so that Git ignores it. And now when we type git status, it's going to pretend that it doesn't see it. And we can now use git add and dot to add all the files. And git commit --m to describe that we just added a Hugo config. And what we are going to do, we are also going to remove the old GitLab YAML file. No, not rename. And one last thing before we switch over to the global. We push it to the repository. And there, we have all the latest files. And in order for the GitLab instance to publish it, we just need to add one file. What? I'm sorry about this one. Had to be logged in already. Oh man, why I made it so complicated for me. All right, we are in, and we can add a new file like this. And we can select the template. In this case, it's going to be, again, a GitLab CI template. And here we need to choose Hugo. Here we go. Save changes. We can go to the root of the repository. We see that it's building. and it is seated. And from here, the page should be accessible by following the pattern. Here you go. About page, final project page, home page. Oh, I think the reason why it doesn't work is that the base URL, it hasn't been set to the base URL of this. In order to quickly change that, you can go to config, and what we need to do is change this into that. So you will have your your username. So you'll need to replace this part with your username and then just leave the Fab Academy at the end. So let's save it. Commit. Push. Before pushing, we need to pull. And it's going to ask you for a merge. So there are more elegant ways of doing it, but at this point, I'm just going to merge. I'm going to press Control X to exit. And now Git push. Now going back to the browser. Git repository is still building. Yeah, it succeeded. So we can go back to this page. Oh no, I just no. No, come on.
I think it's because when, like, after you put it down, you need to like save the file again because they actually changed the thing you just changed.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Okay, let's save one more time.
For me, there was a slight delay after building, even maybe a minute or two before it appeared.
Yeah, now it works. Yeah. Yeah, it was a delay. That was okay. So these are the basics. So I would like to go for 1 more hour, but I think that let's stop here and switch over to the global because we are already 5 minutes late. So thank you very much for joining. And Bonnie, are you still there?
Yes.
Yeah, thanks for joining you as well. So, and remember to fill out the questionnaire that Bonnie sent. So it's the link you can see in the chat, and then I'm gonna send you also later an email with the link one more time. So thanks for joining, and see you later.
See you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris, may I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Because you always say like fact academic student, I'm not pretty sure am I the fact academic student.
You are the digital fabrication student. You should use the regular GitLab. Although one of the digital fabrication students managed to create a GitLab account on the Fab Cloud GitLab, yeah, if you decide to join the official Fab Academy in the middle of the course, then we can very easily make you account and transfer all the files there. But essentially, there is no difference. So the difference is only in these URLs up there. So where So instead of gitlab.io or gitlab.com, you would use gitlab.fabcloud.org, and I think it was fabcloud.io where they host the websites now.
Because when I open an account on GitLab, it's asking me like, do I need to want to like open a free trial for 30 days or what? And it's the part.
It shouldn't offer you even like the trial.
Yeah, I did it
And
same
make a
for me,
free
but it's the
account.
gold thing, but it doesn't matter. Like the gold thing is something like premium. You don't need it. Like all the features we use are free.
Okay.
Yeah.
It just has this
for
like
free.
stupid header, or not stupid. Of course they want somebody to pay. But
Okay.
you don't need that. You don't need that.
Yeah. Can understand.
Yeah, they want to keep it free for users like you, who are just starting out, so that you can actually start building your programming knowledge and build some product, and then use GitLab later for your company that you're going to build in 5 years, and that's going to generate millions. So this is when they are when it's important for them to move, for you to move into the gold section of GitLab. But yeah, so that's it. Let's move on to the global.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris. And Antti says hi. Kvantti Hietaniemi.
Oh,
Said,
nice.
told
Hi,
me to say
Antti.
hi.
Long time no see.
Yeah.
Well,
See
yeah,
you
we
in
should
the-
arrange something.
Yeah. Even some remote one. See you in the global.
See you later.
See you.
Bye.